Hey everyone! Welcome back to Globewise Entertainment, your ultimate spot for everything movies, entertainment, and Hollywood stories. If you haven't subscribed yet, make sure you hit that subscribe button right now. You don't want to miss out on our amazing film countdowns, deep dives, and all the coolest entertainment updates. Today we're diving into a super exciting list: 10 incredible films that deserve a second life. These are hidden gems and cult favorites that didn't get the spotlight they truly deserved the first time around. Whether you're into horror, comedy, drama, or sci-fi, there's something here that'll definitely catch your eye. So grab your popcorn and get ready to discover some fantastic films that might just become your new favorites. And hey, after watching, don't forget to tell us in the comments, which movie on this list do you love the most or want to see get a second chance? 1. Dark City 1998. A mind-bending sci-fi masterpiece that time forgot. Before The Matrix redefined the sci-fi genre in 1999, Dark City quietly arrived with a similarly bold vision, but it never got the recognition it truly deserved. Directed by Alex Proyas, Dark City follows a man who wakes up with no memory, only to find himself pursued by mysterious beings known as the Strangers, who manipulate time and reality. Set in a perpetually night-shrouded metropolis, the film is drenched in noir aesthetics, Kafkaesque paranoia, and a haunting atmosphere that feels like a dream teetering on the edge of a nightmare. Despite its rich visual style, philosophical depth, and standout performances by Rufus Sewell, Jennifer Connelly, and Kiefer Sutherland, Dark City was overshadowed at the box office. Many critics admired it, but audiences weren't quite ready for its cerebral narrative and unconventional style. Ironically, The Matrix, which hit theaters just a year later, borrowed heavily from the same existential themes and even used some of the same sets. Yet Dark City faded into cult obscurity, largely uncredited for its influence. In today's age of intellectual sci-fi hits like Black Mirror and Westworld, Dark City deserves a second life, a re-release, a limited series, or at the very least recognition as one of the most visionary sci-fi thrillers of the late 20th century. If you've never seen it, now's the time to rediscover this underappreciated gem. 2. The Fall 2006. A visual masterpiece lost in time. In a world saturated with CGI-heavy blockbusters, The Fall is a forgotten gem that proves pure imagination can still outshine digital wizardry. Directed by Tarsem Singh and released in 2006, The Fall is a cinematic love letter to storytelling itself. The film begins in a 1920s Los Angeles hospital, where a stuntman named Roy Walker, broken in body and spirit, spins a fantastical tale for a curious little girl named Alexandria. As the line between reality and fantasy begins to blur, we're swept into an epic odyssey across deserts, palaces, and war-torn lands, all brought to life without green screens, just real-world locations spanning 20 countries. Every frame of The Fall looks like a Renaissance painting come to life. From the haunting symmetry of ancient ruins in India to the surreal landscapes of Namibia's sand dunes, this film is a visual feast, made even more extraordinary by the fact that there was no studio interference. It was almost entirely self-funded by Singh, who poured his commercial directing earnings into crafting a story from the heart, not a boardroom. Despite its beauty and emotional depth, The Fall quietly slipped through the cracks during its limited release. Critics were divided. Some called it pretentious, while others hailed it as a masterpiece. But those who've seen it rarely forget it. Lee Pace's performance as the wounded Roy is heartbreakingly human, and newcomer Katinka Untaru, only 6 at the time, delivers one of the most natural child performances ever captured on film. If there's one film on this list that deserves a second life, a revival, a streaming renaissance, or even a cult rediscovery, it's The Fall. It's more than a movie. It's an experience that reminds us why we fell in love with cinema in the first place. 3 Children of Men 2006. Imagine a world where humanity faces extinction, not from war or disease, but from a silent, soul-crushing infertility. No child has been born in nearly 2 decades, and society is collapsing into chaos. That's the haunting premise of Children of Men, a dystopian thriller that didn't just predict the future, it warned us about it. Directed by Alfonso Cuarón and starring Clive Owen, Julianne Moore, and Chiwetel Ejiofor. This 2006 film delivers a raw, immersive experience that blends heart-pounding action with sobering commentary on immigration, authoritarianism, and hope in the darkest of times. The story follows Theo, a disillusioned bureaucrat thrust into a desperate mission to protect a miraculously pregnant refugee, the first sign of new life in 18 years. What follows is a visceral journey through war-torn streets, captured in long, unbroken shots that pull you directly into the panic and urgency of each moment. Critics praise Children of Men for its direction and technical brilliance, but at the time it struggled at the box office. Yet today its relevance has only grown. With its gritty realism, prophetic themes, and emotional depth, Children of Men feels less like fiction and more like a chilling forecast. This is a film that didn't just deserve better when it premiered. It deserves a second life now. If you've never seen it, or haven't watched it in years, it's time to revisit this masterpiece. 4. Brazil 1985. A dystopian dream turned bureaucratic nightmare. When Terry Gilliam's Brazil hit theaters in 1985, it wasn't just ahead of its time. It was practically from another dimension. Set in a grim bureaucratic future where paperwork reigns supreme and freedom is an illusion, Brazil follows a low-level government worker, Sam Lowry, who escapes his dull reality through elaborate daydreams of heroism and love. Gilliam, one-third of the Monty Python team, took creative risks that puzzled some and dazzled others. With its surreal visuals, Kafkaesque tone, and biting satire of authoritarianism and conformity, Brazil was praised by critics but clashed with studio execs. Universal Pictures famously fought Gilliam over the ending, delaying the film's release and butchering it for American audiences with a watered-down version, nicknamed The Love Conquers All cut. Despite the turmoil, Brazil has since become a cult classic, often compared to 1984, but with a more chaotic, nightmarish twist. Jonathan Pryce's performance as the hapless Sam, the hauntingly whimsical production design, and Michael Kamen's unforgettable use of the titular song create a cinematic experience that still feels eerily relevant today. In an era dominated by discussions of surveillance, data privacy, and oppressive bureaucracy, Brazil isn't just a relic. It's a prophetic masterpiece begging for rediscovery. Why it deserves a second life. With a proper restoration, wide streaming release, or even a limited re-release in theaters, Brazil could spark fresh conversations about control, conformity, and creativity in our digital age. Its message has never felt more urgent, or more bizarrely beautiful. 5. Sunshine 2007. Directed by Danny Boyle. Sunshine is a breathtaking fusion of science fiction and psychological drama that slipped through the cracks upon its release. Set in a dying future where the sun is fading and Earth is freezing, a team of astronauts embarks on a last-ditch mission to reignite the star using a massive nuclear payload. Sounds epic, right? It is, but it's so much more than a space adventure. As the crew journeys toward the sun aboard the Icarus II, the film shifts from hard sci-fi to haunting thriller, exploring themes of sacrifice, sanity, and the fragility of human purpose under cosmic pressure. Visually, its stunning cinematographer Alwyn H. Kuckler bathes the screen in golden flares and eerie silences, creating a hypnotic atmosphere that demands a big-screen experience. Despite its gripping story and standout performances from Cillian Murphy, Rose Byrne, and Chris Evans, Sunshine was overshadowed by more commercial releases at the time. Today, it's a cult gem just waiting to be rediscovered. If you love emotionally complex sci-fi in the vein of 2001, A Space Odyssey or Interstellar, this is one that deserves a second life. 6. A Scanner Darkly 2006. Rotoscoped paranoia and philosophical sci-fi brilliance. Richard Linklater's A Scanner Darkly is a haunting, trippy dive into a near-future dystopia riddled with surveillance, addiction, and identity loss. Based on the novel by Philip K. Dick, the film stars Keanu Reeves, Winona Ryder, Robert Downey Jr., and Woody Harrelson, a stacked cast delivering layered performances under the film's unforgettable rotoscope animation. But here's the thing. Despite its unique visual style and deeply thought-provoking story, this film slipped under the radar for many. With themes that resonate even more today: mass surveillance, government overreach, and the fracturing of self. It's a chillingly relevant masterpiece that was simply ahead of its time. If you've never seen A Scanner Darkly, or you only remember its weird animation, it's time to give it another look. Beneath the trippy visuals lies one of the most emotionally resonant sci-fi films of the 2000s. This is Philip K. Dick at his most personal and most prophetic. 7. The Fountain, 2006. A timeless tale that was ahead of its time. When Darren Aronofsky released The Fountain in 2006, audiences weren't quite ready for what they were seeing. It wasn't just a movie, it was a meditation on love, death, time, and rebirth, spanning 1,000 years in 3 parallel storylines. Hugh Jackman and Rachel Weisz delivered raw, haunting performances as star-crossed lovers whose connection defied the boundaries of space and time. The story weaves through 16th-century Spain, modern-day America, and a surreal cosmic future, tied together by Jackman's portrayal of a man obsessed with saving the woman he loves. Some viewers were baffled by the non-linear narrative and mystical symbolism, but others found something profound, a cinematic poem that explored the deepest corners of human emotion. At the box office, The Fountain struggled. It was too experimental for mainstream audiences and critics were split. But over time it's grown into a cult favorite, especially among those who crave deeper meaning in their movies. Today, The Fountain stands as a misunderstood masterpiece. With today's growing appetite for thoughtful, visually stunning science fiction and spiritual storytelling, this film is ripe for rediscovery. It deserves a second life, one where audiences embrace its bold ambition and emotional depth. 8. Moon, 2009. A haunting sci-fi gem forgotten by time. Before artificial intelligence became a hot topic in mainstream conversation, Moon quietly explored the unsettling loneliness of automation and identity in space. Directed by Duncan Jones, yes, David Bowie's son, Moon tells the story of Sam Bell, a solitary worker stationed on the moon to oversee a mining operation. With just a few weeks left in his 3-year contract, Sam begins to experience hallucinations, and soon discovers a truth that shakes the very core of his reality. Sam Rockwell delivers a career-defining performance, essentially acting opposite himself in a dual role that's eerie, emotional, and utterly compelling. The film's minimalist set design and Clint Mansell's haunting score create a slow-burn atmosphere that's equal parts claustrophobic and beautiful. Despite critical acclaim and a devoted cult following, Moon was criminally underseen at the time of its release. Its philosophical themes, quiet tension, and low-budget brilliance deserve fresh eyes, especially now, in an era fascinated by space exploration and AI ethics. Moon isn't just another sci-fi flick. It's a thought-provoking tale of what it means to be human when you're light years from home. If you missed it the first time around, now's the perfect time to rediscover it. 9. The Iron Giant, 1999. The robot with a soul we didn't deserve. When The Iron Giant was released in 1999, it quietly rolled into theaters, and just as quietly rolled out largely unnoticed. But what audiences missed back then has since become legendary. A heartwarming, heartbreaking tale of friendship, sacrifice, and what it truly means to be human. Set during the Cold War, the film follows a young boy named Hogarth who discovers and befriends a massive metal robot that crash-landed near his small town. Unlike any machine the world had ever seen, this iron behemoth wasn't a weapon, unless he was forced to be. With innocence in his giant glowing eyes, the Iron Giant learned from Hogarth that he could choose who he wanted to be. And in a moment that still brings fans to tears, he made his choice: Superman. Directed by Brad Bird in his feature debut, The Iron Giant was a box office flop, partially due to poor marketing and stiff competition. But time has been kind to the film. It found new life through DVD, streaming, and word of mouth, and is now considered one of the greatest animated films ever made. Despite its cult status, the film still hasn't gotten the wide theatrical re-release or sequel treatment many believe it deserves. In an age of remakes and reboots, The Iron Giant is ripe for rediscovery by a new generation, and for longtime fans to see the metal hero soar again on the big screen. Because if any film has earned a second life, it's this one. 10. The Assassination of Jesse James by the Coward Robert Ford, 2007. 10. The Assassination of Jesse James by the Coward Robert Ford, 2007. This haunting Western masterpiece is a beautifully shot, deeply atmospheric meditation on fame, betrayal, and the human longing for legacy. Directed by Andrew Dominic, the film explores the complex and tragic relationship between the legendary outlaw Jesse James, brilliantly played by Brad Pitt, and the young obsessed Robert Ford, Casey Affleck, who idolizes and ultimately betrays his hero. Unlike typical action-packed westerns, this film takes its time, weaving a slow-burning poetic narrative that reveals the loneliness and myth surrounding Jesse James. The cinematography is stunning, capturing the dusty, melancholy landscapes that feel almost like another character in the story. The performances are subtle but powerful, especially Affleck's portrayal of Ford's conflicted psyche. Despite critical acclaim, the film was initially overlooked by mainstream audiences, perhaps because of its contemplative pace and somber tone. But its richly layered storytelling and emotional depth make it a timeless classic that deserves a second chance. It's a rare Western that elevates the genre into an elegy about human frailty and the cost of legend. If you haven't seen it yet, prepare for a visually mesmerizing, emotionally wrenching journey into the dark heart of the American West, one that lingers long after the credits roll. And that's a wrap on our countdown of 20 incredible films that deserve a second life. We hope you discovered some hidden gems that you're excited to watch or revisit. These movies may have flown under the radar, but they definitely deserve a spot in the spotlight. If you haven't subscribed to Globewise Entertainment yet, now's the perfect time. Hit that subscribe button and join our awesome community of movie lovers. We bring you the best stories from Hollywood and beyond,